No matter who you are, cooking is really one of those activities that brings people together. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to spend an extravagant amount of money. Cooking is an activity that not only feeds your body, but it also nourishes your soul. And that's really what I'm getting at, is that regardless of who you are, where you live, that you have the capability in your family, on your street, in your neighborhood, in your community, to really make a positive impact on the people with whom you interact by cooking for them, by dining together. It's really, it's something much more than just warming up corn dogs and sitting down. What we're going to do now is we're going to do some pan-seared pork chops in cast iron skillet. What I have are a couple of pork loin chops, bone in. Now we're going to dust these pork chops on both sides with a little seasoning blend that I put together. Seasoning blends are really easy to do at home. Start with a cup of kosher salt, and then in 1/8 cup increments, you can add all your other little fun things. Let the pork chops rest for a couple minutes so that the salt has time to dissolve into the meat and to carry the flavor a little bit deeper. One of the most frequent questions that I get as a chef from delivery guys at the restaurant to friends, family, is when's it done? How do I know when the pork chops are done? How do I know when my salmon's done? Whatever. So I'll tell people, go ahead and see what your flesh feels like when it's raw. Now bring your left hand over and feel between your thumb and forefinger. That's the same type of feeling. Now when this is done, put your thumb and forefinger together, and that's what cooked flesh feels like. It's a really low-tech analogy to use, and like I said, my delivery drivers understand it, my family understands it, friends, and it works. I like to use cast iron, and a lot of chefs out there in the business like to use cast iron because of the great quality that it has for heat retention. These things, once they get hot, they're just absolutely wonderful, and they're great for searing different types of proteins, whether it's seafood, pork chops, like we're going to do today, or chicken. I do start with a little drop of oil, just to kind of coat the bottom of my cast iron. My pan right now is nice and hot, and I'm going to bring over a pork chop. Now people ask me too, well, how do I know when it's searing? And it's really pretty easy. If you can hear it, then you're searing it. Once the pork chop is in the pan, I'm going to be looking after a couple of minutes for some little beads of moisture to come up through the flesh. That's when I know that it's time to flip it. You can see the spices have gained a nice color on that side. And again, flipping it over, that moisture that's come up through the flesh is now getting seared on the other side. We're going to check our pork chop now to check for doneness, and I'm going to go ahead and use that finger test that we tried earlier. And yeah, sure enough, the center of this pork chop, the thickest part, is nice and firm. So I'd say that pork chop is done. And we're going to bring it on over to our cutting board. Next, we're going to be sauteing some sugar snap peas with a little touch of minced garlic. I'm going to mince up some peeled garlic cloves, and we're going to do that in the cast iron too. Cast iron is also vegetable friendly. Okay. Ah, garlic. I love garlic. We like to use garlic in my family, so I buy it in large jars already peeled. I confess. But mincing it up is always a bit of a challenge for a lot of people. But I watched Julia Child do this about 30 years ago, and I love it. Bam. We're going to start with, again, a little drop of oil in the bottom of our cast iron. Actually, more than a drop, because I want to coat these sugar snap peas really well, give them a nice shine. I like to put the sugar snaps in first before the garlic because the garlic will burn. You can hear those guys working in there. Add a little bit of kosher salt. And now I'm going to add some of my minced garlic. Ooh, my goodness. Here's a great pork chop that we did earlier. A little bit of those juices.